Hello, parents. I hope this video finds you well. If you were unable to attend our back to school night, this should be a good resource for you as this made a presentation that I went over last night. Unfortunately, my recording was messed up, so I'm re-recording it today without anybody in the meet. So if you don't already know me, I am Miss Washington. This is, of course, Language Arts 8. As I'm going through this presentation, I both want to show you what we're going to be working on this quarter, but I also want to show you what the students are doing when they come into the class and how they're interacting with me and their classmates as we go through. So I'm going to pop out of here because the first thing that a student will do when they come into my classroom is they're going to join what's called a pair deck. There we go. So this is the screen that they will see when they come into the room. They go to joinpd.com, or I put a link in the chat, and then they put in the code, and that will bring up their own copy of the presentation that we are going over. This allows students to click on any links that I send them, but it also allows students to answer questions. And I'll show you a little bit about those types of questions as we go on through. So coming back, as we are going through their presentation, students join the pair deck, and then they will be asked to do a warm-up. There's a couple of kind of warm-ups we might do. They generally involve some form of typing. One program I like to use is Padlet. So because they're on the pair deck, they'd be able to click here on that link, and that'll take them to the Padlet. With the Padlet, if they press the plus sign, they're able to type an answer to any question that I give them. This one is a little bit more public because, of course, as you can see, they can see what their classmates are saying. So for this kind of Padlet, we definitely try to make the question a little bit more low stakes, something that they might not be worried about answering in front of their classmates. So a little bit about me. I am a Leesburg native, actually. I went to Harper Park and Heritage High School. After Heritage, I went on to James Madison University, and I attended James Madison for both my bachelor's and my master's degrees. So I'm a double Duke. I worked at Smarts Mill for 4 years now, but this is my first year teaching both 7th and 8th grade. I have absolutely loved coming up with your 8th graders. I have had over 75% of my 8th grade students last year. So it's really led to a level of comfort and collaboration immediately in the school year that I have not experienced before, which I believe is definitely helpful as we are coming into distance learning. So it's so far been a wonderful experience. Other than that, your students might tell you I'm a major Capitals fan because I do talk about it a lot. If your student is a Penguins fan, that's fine. They just might catch a little flack. You know, not much, but enough to tell them what's going on. So as we keep going through, this is one of the slides that your student might encounter in class. This looks a little bit different on the student side than it does on the teacher side. But when your students come in, they see a little blue icon, and it allows them to drag the icon wherever they want on the screen. So I've done this before, asking students how they feel about an assignment, if we need to keep reviewing the directions, or if they're ready to turn it in. Just today, I worked on theme with the students, and this is a review from 7th grade. So they used this at the beginning of the lesson to tell me how they were feeling about theme, then at the end of the lesson to see if we've improved our understanding a little bit. Another kind of question that your student might come across, and again, this looks different on mine than it would on the students, is a multiple choice question. If you look down, let me try to get that black bar to go away. Oh, it's not going to go away. But if you down in the right-hand corner, it tells them exactly what kind of a question it is. This one would be multiple choice. So on the right-hand side of their screen, they see answers that they're able to put in. And I can always show them exactly what their classmates have said. But because there's no one in here right now, I can't do that. So our focus is for this quarter, for vocabulary, we're going to have 2 different types of lists. The first is an academic vocab list. These are 10 words that we believe the students really need to know in order to interact with our curriculum. We are going to be doing vocab a little bit different this year in that I am going to be giving students words one at a time so that we can talk about it a little bit more and really learn that word before moving on to the next one. Both vocab lists I'm going to talk about are already in the vocab section listed out. So if you are someone that wants to see it, or your student is someone that feels they need to have it right away and doesn't want to wait for the word one at a time, that's totally fine. It's there for them. The other type of vocabulary list we're going to be using is root words. This should be a review for most of these 8th graders from 7th grade. But with the root words, we're going to give them a list of 10, and we'll be working on memorizing those roots, but also learning how do we use these roots to determine the meaning of unfamiliar words. For grammar this year, we are still using our No Red Ink program. It's going to be more self-directed by the students than ever before, though. So this week, my 8th graders will be taking a pre-test. Based on that pre-test, I'm going to tell students where I need them to start. They have been given a checklist. There are 6 sections on that checklist, and each student will be responsible for 3 this quarter. So I might tell them, I need you to start with verbs. They'll start there and then do 2 more. All told, doing 3 sections of No Red Ink shouldn't take students more than like an hour and a half. And they have all quarter to do this. So this is not intended to be a very stressful aspect of their quarter. It should be more something that they're kind of filling their time with and learning as they have a moment. Our big assignment for this quarter is going to be the literary analysis essay. For this essay, students will be choosing a short story. We're going to have about 5 options for them. And they'll be going through that story, dissecting it, making a theory about the story, and then working on using evidence to support the theory that they come up with. This week, we're going to start by reading an anchor text, All Summer in a Day by Ray Bradbury, and looking at the theme, and then we'll keep going from there. Beyond that, the last thing that we're going to be focusing on is goals this quarter. I am slowly but surely conferencing with all of the students. When I conference with the student, we're coming up with a reading goal and a writing goal together. Students have really 2 ways that they might create the goal. One would be to, lost my train of thought. One would be to make like an improvement goal, such as if they're talking about writing, they might say, I would like to work on my editing this quarter, or I would like to work on my spelling. It could also be a goal that's something they just want to accomplish. They might say, I want to work on putting a piece of figurative language in everything that I write, or I want to write a story this quarter. So they're going to conference with me, and I'll help them come up with these goals. Really what I'm helping them with is making sure that their goal is actionable and quantifiable. And then they're going to tell me exactly how they're going to check themselves for progress, and then how they're going to show me at the end of the quarter that they accomplished their goal. So it's going to take some conferencing, but this is really intended for students to be thinking about their own learning and work on something that does not involve their classmates, that's just them. So the last type of slide that a student might see, this is a slide in which they would type their answer. I have actually really enjoyed this type of slide with the students, because one thing that I've noticed is when we're in the classroom in person and I ask a question, all of our students process at different rates. So what happens when I ask a question in class is, even though all the students might be thinking about it, there's always 1 or 2 that are quick on the draw, and those hands will go right up. Once those hands go up, most of the students will stop thinking. Okay, somebody has the answer, so I don't need to worry about it. And they won't continue to process what I'm saying. So by using a slide like this in the virtual environment, students can't see who has answered or not. They are only going to see the answers once I show them to them. And no names are attached, so it's low stakes. And this makes sure that all students are really processing and working with the questions that I ask. I do try to keep open communication between me and the families of our students. You should have gotten an email from me on Monday about last week and this week's work. I will be sending those emails out every Monday. Excuse me. I also try to send emails whenever I have anything to say about your student, whether it be something that might need to improve, or if it's something that I've noticed that's just been going really well for that student. If you have a question for me, I'm available by email between 8:30 and 4 every work day. Probably at my computer a little bit more than that, but I'm definitely there for those hours. I will say though, that I am less likely than ever to answer an email in the middle of a class because there's just simply not enough screens in the world for me to see it. So I do have planning from around 10:40 to around 12:15 every day. If you email me between those hours, I am much more likely to answer right away versus maybe like an hour or 2 hours later if you email me during one of my classes. Other than that, just like always, we're available to meet virtually. If you would like to talk to me, and that could either be me and you, or it could be your student and me and you, I can always set that up. You can also email Mrs. Eidman or Ms. Smythe, and they can set up meetings with all of your students, teachers, or the counseling team, whatever it is that you feel needs to be done to best meet the needs of your students. We can meet if there's something that you would like to talk about that shouldn't be said over an email. Just let us know. Other than that, I truly think that we're going to have a great year. These 8th graders have come in ready to go. They've been participating and producing really good work so far. So I am excited. Please let me know if you have any questions. Again, email is going to be the best way to reach me.